Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, this war is not turning out well for America at all. And we're going to get into a lot of things, especially over the next 24 hours. Um, I was looking at the foreign minister for Iran. He was on an interview and he was explaining why they will not do a ceasefire with Donald Trump. Apparently, Donald Trump did two ceasefires with them in the past, and both times when they were in the middle of negotiating, the United States bombed them. So he was like, then what was the point in doing a ceasefire and you're going to bomb us anyway? That's why they said they will not do any ceasefires with Donald Trump because he's done that to them twice. So, it explains everything. And now Donald Trump has been babbling about ground troops, and it's because they are running out of missiles, y'all. So they're not going to be able to keep up an air defense for a long period of time. So ammo is low. So that's why he's talking about going to the ground. And I'm telling you, that's when the casualties will skyrocket. I don't think just for America, but for Israel too. It's going to skyrocket because you see how hard Iran is defending themselves with all the airstrikes. They are really going all out defending themselves. And they're not going to do any less when it comes down to any type of conflict on the ground. And Donald Trump absolutely underestimated this because on Sunday, when him and Netanyahu bombed Iran, Donald Trump even said he thought it was going to be like Venezuela. First of all, that's so dumb. Venezuela and Iran are nothing alike. Okay. And that's why I said just because he got Maduro all out of office, his head done got swollen. It might have been easy for you in those Latino nations, and quite frankly, they don't want to fight their white savior. So I think you could probably defeat any of those Latin American countries because they probably feel if they fight hard, then they're harming their white mommy and white daddy. So you ain't got to worry about them. Iran, on the other hand, they don't give a crap about that mess. All right. They take on a whole different attitude from Venezuela. So I think a ground fight is going to really wipe out the military. I really do. You know, one thing, you are at a disadvantage. That's why they didn't win Afghanistan and Iraq, y'all, because you're in a foreign land. Those people know how to run and hide. They know the terrains. Our people don't know the country that well, and you're really sending them off to be slaughtered. And I don't see going to any type of ground defense is going to be in the favor of the US at all. I think it's, in fact, I think it's suicide. I really do. And I would hate to see it come down to that. Do I think Donald Trump would go there? Yes. Donald Trump ain't putting nothing on the line. None of his family is there. He's not sacrificing anything. So, and he doesn't care about all of these other families that are out here, that may not even, a lot of times, these folks come from areas of the country where they don't have a lot of money. They're poor. And so their alternative is joining the military. So he doesn't care about those kind of folks. and he doesn't care how many of them get sacrificed. So, this do I think the war will escalate? Absolutely. I don't think this is gonna be over. Donald Trump talking about some 4 or 5 weeks. This ain't gonna be over in no 4 or 5 weeks. It's not, y'all. This thing is gonna I would not be surprised when we get to 2027, this is still going on. I do not believe this is gonna be over in weeks. So, of course, the videos are coming out about, Sin Baron, so that's really exploding all over social media, and these rich people do need to send their children. You want everybody else to be out there falling and dying, but your kids get to be safe and at home? Nah. You know, that should never have been allowed in this country. If you're gonna draft, everybody is subjected to be drafted. Now, I was listening to, was it the Midas Touch? It was one of these, I can't remember which one it was. But do you know, number 1, Donald Trump's father was born here in the US. And you know why Donald Trump's father was in the US? He left, I think he was in Germany. He left Germany because he was about to get drafted into the military, and his father got him out of that nation and shipped him off here to the US. So, Donald Trump got a family history of ducking and dodging from fighting in the military. According to what they're saying, his grandfather avoided fighting in the military, his father avoided it, and then Donald Trump avoided fighting in the military. So he got a long history of avoiding the military, draft dodging all of them. So the men in his family are draft dodgers. So it should be no shock that Barron can't go because of this and that reason. We know he ain't sending Barron, even though he should. All right, y'all, let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. Yep. All right. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. And today, the shampoo has gone up for sale, 25% off at all 3 of my stores, Etsy, Shopify, and TikTok Shop. So grab it up while you can. Thank you, everybody, for the ones.
We have some major news right now. Donald Trump is not ruling out putting boots on the ground in Iran this morning as he tells Jake Tapper, quote, the big wave is yet to come. Clearly, things are escalating, not de-escalating in the region. Trump spoke with the New York Post this morning, not ruling out putting boots on the ground if necessary, saying that the operation was, quote, way ahead of schedule, and proceeding to say, quote, I don't have the yips with respect to boots on the ground. Like every president says, there will be no boots on the ground. I don't say it. I say probably don't need them, or if they were necessary. Now, meanwhile, he told Jake Tapper that a big wave is set to come. What that means is unclear. What it does mean is that strikes will increase in Iran likely over the next day to several days, not decrease, as the United States continues its bombing campaign throughout Tehran. Spread the word. Follow along for more.
It's Monday after everything went down this weekend with Iran. What do you think is the likelihood that we're going to end up with boots on the ground over there? And that's kind of what people are scared of, like our troops.
I have no idea. People are already getting, it's already casualties right now. I don't know. Geez, I don't think so. But then again, who knows? There's a huge move for you to put boots on the ground, right? This is like targeted airstrikes versus putting boots on the ground is a whole different world. And the way this was done without congressional like approval or even getting other parts of the government that are supposed to be involved in war involved, I don't think so. I don't think that's part of the plan. Even if people are saying there's no plan right now, there's no bigger plan because nothing is said. But I think they're far away from doing that because politically, that's a whole different situation when you do that. I mean, you could say right now you're putting definitely our military in harm's way because you're attacking, but boots on the ground is like, I think it's a whole different concern because then all the concerns about, is this going to be another what? Iraq, another Afghanistan? What is this going to look like? Right. And with those instances in the past in history, those were all like, the international community came together and supported us doing it. And then there was like coalitions going in, like for us just to go with who and how. I think that's just, I don't think that's realistic, but then again, what do I know? We'll see.
If there had been a briefing, if there had been full disclosure of the state of negotiations or an assessment of Iran's nuclear program, would Democrats have been persuadable to support military action? I ask that because the Biden administration initially had reached out to Iran to try to get to a negotiated deal, and they weren't able to get one, in part because they weren't willing to lift sanctions off of the IRGC. So, in other words, are we just in a place where military conflict or confrontation was inevitable and it just happened to land on Donald Trump's watch?
No, Donald Trump precipitated this crisis, right? He inherited a nuclear agreement that was working, that had put Iran more than a year away from a nuclear weapon. The JCPOA. Against the advice of his advisors, he tossed that agreement out, which brought us to this moment.
It would have expired by now.
But I think Iran would have certainly been willing to extend those provisions if we were still in the agreement. But second, there is no history, there is no experience that shows an air campaign alone will result in positive regime change. In fact, there's not a single example of it in the entirety of American history. An air campaign without at least the threat of a ground invasion, which the administration is ruling out, never results in a democratic rebirth in an authoritarian country. So the plan they have laid out, sustained airstrikes without a ground invasion, is destined to fail. All that will happen at the end of this, most likely, listen, I'm rooting for democracy in Iran, but the most likely outcome here is that hardliners take over the government, they restart their missile program, they restart their nuclear program, and we're just right back at bombing them again and putting American lives and regional lives at risk again in a year or two.
Boots on the ground in Iran.
The President of the United States warned the American public that there could be casualties, American casualties. Does that mean the U.S. is putting boots on the ground?
No, Margaret, the president has been clear that what we should expect to see is an extended air and naval campaign that's designed not only to continue to set back Iran's nuclear ambitions, but most importantly, to destroy its vast missile arsenal. Many more missiles than the United States and Israel have air defenses combined, as well as the missile launchers and its missile manufacturing capability. Now, obviously, one risk of that kind of campaign is that an aircraft could be shot down and the president would never leave a pilot behind. So no doubt we have combat search and rescue assets in the region that are prepared to go in and extract any downed pilot. But barring that kind of unusual circumstance, Margaret, the president has no plan for any kind of large-scale ground force inside of Iran.
Oh, and that last thing, boots on the ground. You're talking to a guy that actually participated in the largest boots on the ground operation in modern history, Operation Desert Storm. It took us months to flow in these troops, and we flew them in a permissive environment, meaning we were landing at airports that were not being shelled or shut down. We were docking at ports that were not being attacked. We aren't going to get any troops. We're not going to get any significant boots on the ground. It would require a assault from the sea to seize either Chabahar or Bandar Abbas. You're also talking to a guy that actually planned assault from the seas to seize Chabahar and Bandar Abbas back when that was one of the things that we were training to do in the mid-1980s through the Rapid Deployment Force. we don't have the resources to do it. So Donald Trump is just blowing smoke at you. He's lying through his teeth. We simply can't. In order to do this, we would have to delay this war by, 9 months at a minimum. And we've already engaged. The Iranians aren't stopping. Even if we pull back and stop bombing them, they will continue to strike until everything is destroyed. There will be no compromise. This is an existential war of survival. Only one winner emerges from this.
What about the talk of special forces? I know they're probably maybe Azerbaijan or Turkmenistan. I mean, is there any factor they could play in this?
On the side of the United States?
Yes.
I mean,
they talk. I mean, it sounds crazy, but they were the terrain. Yes, everything. But like they were talking about this as a very serious thing in the New York Times weeks before this all went down.
No, I'm not. Look, in 2005, I went to Fort Leavenworth, the School of Advanced Military Studies, where I was a guest speaker. And when I went in,
let me start with the big question: is the United States at war with Iran?
I think the Ayatollah would say, yeah. I don't know if this is technically a war, but here's what I can say the headline is for me Sunday. The mothership of terrorism is sinking. The captain is dead. The largest state sponsor of terrorism, Iran, is close to collapsing. The leader of the largest state sponsor of terrorism and his inner team are dead. The mothership that fuels the proxies is in sinking mode. The goal of this operation is to change the threat, not the regime.
Will the United States pick the next leader of Iran, or will the Iranian people pick the next leader?
I talked to the Crown Prince. He's got some ideas about transition. There will be no American boots on the ground. This is not Iraq. This is not Germany. This is not Japan. We're going to free the people up from a terrorist regime. And the goal is not only to help the Iranian people to chart a new destiny, to make sure no matter who takes over in Iran, no matter who it is, no matter who the people pick, they cannot become the largest state sponsor of terrorism. They can't fuel Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas. They can't have ballistic missiles. They can't have a nuclear weapon. They will be out of the terrorism business. So the people will pick. As to the people, choose wisely. We want to be your friend. We'd like to have a good relationship with you going forward, but that is up to you.
How will the United States make sure that the next Iranian government isn't worse than the current regime?
It's not our job to pick the next Iranian government.
Now, y'all, what he's saying, Lindsey Graham, I still can't get past the fact that this man's name is Lindsey, of all things. Anyway, what he's saying is a load of BS. And let me tell you something. I was looking at a report about 2 days ago. Donald Trump wants a say in the leadership in Iran. He wants a say in who's going to replace the supreme leader that just died. And Donald Trump can't have no say over there in no Muslim world. They're not going to accept that from Donald Trump. But he was talking like that just maybe like 2 days ago. And he's like, oh, well, they don't have no, that's a lie. They got plenty of interest. See, because this is why the U.S. have been able to thrive all over the world by having all these different puppet governments in place. So that's why he wants a say in it. He wants a puppet government. So whenever he needs oil and anything else from that region, he can easily get what he wants with no pushback. Well, look, that Ayatollah, his son, from what I was reading, will be taking over. So his son is going to become the supreme leader. So no, Donald Trump, that means no, you killed that man's father. He's not going to sit there and be your puppet. So I don't know. I'm just telling y'all, I just think this ground invasion, see, Donald Trump will say he's not going to do, because we know Donald Trump. We know his ass. Donald Trump will tell you he's not going to do something, and then next you'll hear in the news about him doing exactly what he said he's not going to do. Look, he ran for president saying that there would be no wars from his administration. Once he was in, there's no wars. And he has done nothing but run around attacking every damn body. And really want to get at us American citizens more too. You know, and that was the big reason why they had to pull ICE out of Minnesota before even getting a lot of the deportations done, because they started attacking American citizens and it looked bad. So trust me, if he could figure out a way to get the military on these streets to come at us, he would do it without a hesitation. But you can't believe what Donald Trump says. I mean, he has done this multiple times, claiming he's not going to do A, B, and C, and then he does it. Donald Trump is like the rest of his people. There's nothing peaceful about Edom. We already know that. He's going to be acting like this until the Most High steps in and just takes this entire kingdom away from them. Once he steps in and takes the Gentile world away from them, then we should start seeing peace on earth. But we're not going to see it as long as these folks remain in power. It's not coming. It has not come for 400 years, and it's not coming now. And it's just like the Bible says, they speak peace, but always got war in their heart. You know, oh, we need peace. They don't know nothing about no damn peace. Nothing. They haven't shown this world peace since they came into power, and they're still not showing anybody what peace look like. So, no. We'll see how long it's going to take them to organize and get a ground troop in there, because I really believe it's going to happen. You can't do an entire war from the air. At some point in time, you got to get troops on the ground. And troops on the ground in the Middle East has not been a good thing for America. Okay, you no matter what, you cannot erase Afghanistan, you cannot erase Iraq. They didn't win either one of those wars. They didn't win. And there were a lot of casualties. And I remember in the beginning, they were showing on the news all of the pictures of these soldiers that fell. And then when it got to be too much, they yanked it off the news. And they're going to do the same thing with this. When it gets to be where the numbers are going up and it looks bad for the US, they'll just pull the whole thing off the news. That's how they operate in this country. You got to remember who's running these news organizations. It sure is not us. And these people are all about hiding things, especially if it don't look like it's good in their favor. So, Libra Justice, thank you so much for your support for my channel. Did you see those 2 videos of the former Marine veteran having his arm broken during a meeting with Air Force generals? Yes, I did see that. I saw that yesterday. Yes, I did. Yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, he said he was not for having doing a war with Israel. And he was against the war, and they tried to escort him out, and it got a bit crazy in them trying to get him out. I just pray it's not a lot of our people, but I know that's not going to be true, because a lot of people in our community are in the military, whether we like it or not. There are many that are there, and I would just hate to see them having to go in there on the ground and, just the thought of it. Just the thought of it. Yeah, I heard him, Sonia. He sure did say get rid of Israel. And he's not the only one. I heard other people say that on video that it is time for the US to sever ties with Israel. So, I mean, I have heard that on other videos. You know, a lot of people are coming to that consensus because they don't see the value in remaining allies with Israel. There's a lot of people now coming to the forefront to express that. So, I mean, they're just looking at this relationship and feel that things are just not right. One of many ancestral shadows, thank you for the super chat, the hatred in their faces, trying to remove him. Yes, exactly. Sure was. Mhm. Yeah, I have a cousin in the Navy, and I have a couple of cousins, in the Army. So, yeah, so I got family. I don't know if they'll be going over there, but I got family in the military, definitely. Many of us do. Mhm. Well, I know, online, y'all, I'm seeing a lot of our brothers go on video saying if there's a draft, they're not going. If there's a draft, they're not going, and I'm hearing a lot of our melanated brothers get on video, and this is what they're saying. Y'all can have all the drafts you want, I'm not going." So, and that's another thing I'm starting to hear a lot online. Mhm. Well, thank you, dark skinned brother. I'm praying for them too, because, a war is no joke. It is no joke. Mhm. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Now, my next one, I sure hope you're here. It is Valentina Gomez. Y'all remember the little racist Colombian woman? Well, she ran for office. She ran for Congress in Texas. So she was in Missouri. She didn't win there. I think she was running for Secretary of State and lost. And then she carpet bagged her way over to Texas and attempted to run for Congress. And man, she got slaughtered. She got slaughtered. Plus, the candidate that did win, Donald Trump endorsed them. So she's now trying to claim that the election was rigged. Don't nobody have to rig no election against that chick. Nobody likes her. So you don't have to rig anything. So that will be at 1:45, ladies and gentlemen. So I will see you then. Have a wonderful afternoon. Shalom, family.